Hello, PhotoPillars! Rafael the Bar here. Welcome to another masterclass. The goal today is to give you all you need to start planning your photos like crazy, to start planning your photos with PhotoPills. My goal today is to help you go from an absolute beginner in photography planning to an absolute expert, an absolute pro, so you can start planning your photos no matter what. Today, we'll see two ways of planning. The first one, we'll see how you can easily plan your photos when you're in the field. And the second way, we'll see how to plan your photos when you are at home. Is the most powerful way of planning your photos. We'll spend a lot of time covering multiple examples of how to plan, sunrise and sunsets, the golden hour, the blue hour, the moon, and the Milky Way. And of course, I'm here, and that's the beauty of a live session, is that you have the possibility to ask questions. So type your questions in the chat. And today I have Sandra Vallabre, as always, with me in the chat, and she will be like collecting all the questions that you have, so I can help you move forward in how to use PhotoPills to plan your shots. So, are you ready? I am ready to begin, to start. So let me share the PhotoPills screen here. Now you should be seeing me and seeing the PhotoPills app. How does it look? Does it look great? I hope it does. Okay, the first question: what is photography planning? What I mean about with photography planning is that photography planning is to find the right shooting spot and the right shooting date and time the photo you want to capture actually occurs, so you can go and capture it. And when you get into photography planning, the first mistake I see a lot of people committing is to, they download PhotoPills and they start trying to master PhotoPills, master all the tools of PhotoPills, which is pretty crazy because we have so many tools. Forget about PhotoPills. What's important here is the photo you want. So first, set a goal. That's super important. What's going to be? What do you want to photograph? Do you want to photograph a sunrise next Saturday? Do you want to photograph the next full moon? Do you want to photograph the golden hour or the blue hour on a specific date? Do you want to photograph the moon aligned with a building? Do you want to photograph the Milky Way? What's going to be? And this is super important because with this goal, then you learn everything you need to get that photo, possible to capture that photo. And planning is one of the key skills you need to learn in order to figure out the right shooting spot and the right shooting date and time that photo that you want to capture actually occurs. So in PhotoPills, the first thing I'm always telling you is that you need, the more locations you know, the more powerful locations you know with interesting subjects, the better. And if you don't know where to find locations, well, you can go always to the My Stuff menu. And here, if you tap on points of interest, you have a database of more than 10,000 locations and subjects around the world. And here you see Menorca, our beautiful island, which is packed with cool points of interest. Because choosing the location is always the first step. Okay, once you know the location, and maybe you're lacking a lot of inspiration, you don't know what to photograph. Okay, you can go to the awards button here and get inspired by the PhotoPills community. Here we share all the photos that you guys submit, but we share one photo every day because you submit so many photos. And it's awesome to see all the photos that the community has imagined, planned, and shot. These people like you guys that are trying to learn and they succeed in capturing these amazing photos. A great source of inspiration for you all. Okay, imagine that you have a location and that you have an idea of a photo. Let me turn off the branding here so you can see PhotoPills better. It is, yeah, I think it's better. Great. Well, from this screen, if you tap on the settings, because this is a question I get a lot, in units, you can change the units from metric to imperial, which is in feet or miles, right? For those of you that use feet instead of meters. Okay, let's go back to the planning thing. Imagine that you have a location, that you are inspired, that you know the photo you want, but you don't know where to start. Okay, you know that you need to learn how to plan, you need to know how to shoot, you need to learn a lot of things. Where do you start? Well, in this case, I recommend you to go to the Academy section and learn only the piece of a piece of information you need to get the shot you want. What I mean about that? With that, well, you can go to the video tutorials and just watch the video you need to learn, for example, how to plan the sunrise or sunset or the Milky Way, or how to photograph the moon. We have a video for that too. Or another thing you can do, which is key, is to go to our how-to guides, our how-to articles. And this is a great starting point if you don't know where to start. For example, we have a guide for Milky Way photography. And in this guide, you'll find everything you need from inspiration, how to plan the Milky Way, all the gear you need to photograph the Milky Way, and also all the camera settings, all the settings you need to nail your Milky Way photo. You have everything in one place. You know that we love this everything in one place thing, right? And you have guides for almost everything, to photograph the moon, to photograph the long exposures with filters, meteor showers, everything. Why I am saying that? Because most of the time you have an idea of what, but you don't know where to start. And the videos and the guides are a great starting point. And now that I'm here, I want to take the opportunity to ask you a favor. I want to take the opportunity to ask you for a rate. If you tap on the rate the app button, you can rate us on the App Store and Google Play. And if you give us 5 stars and a nice comment, that would be really amazing. If you like the things we do with PhotoPills and all the content we create, it would be awesome if you can show us support also on the App Store and Google Play, because it means a lot to us, and it keeps us, super passionate about this project, and we keep working like hell. Okay, dokie, let's go to the pills menu, because in the pills menu is where we find all the pills we use to plan our stuff. And today, as I said, we're going to be covering how to plan your shots from home and how to plan your shots in the field. To plan your shots from home, you're going to use the Planner tool, which is the most powerful tool. But sometimes when you're in the field, you don't really need to use the planner. If you're in the field, you want to know where the sun will be rising, or where the moon will be rising, or where the Milky Way will be, because you want to stay to photograph the Milky Way with a beautiful subject you just have in front of you. Well, I wouldn't use the planner. For example, for figuring out where the sun will rise when you're in the field, I use the sun pill, because if you tap on sun, here you have all the key events of the day, for your location, because the sun pill locates you via the GPS coordinates in your phone. You have all the key sun, natural light, moon information, and also the Milky Way information. But what's interesting here is that you have the AR button. You'll see that in PhotoPills, AR, the augmented reality views, are key, because it's a super easy way to visualize the information you need on the reality. So you have your horizon here. Now the sun is below the horizon because it has already set. You have the date and time here. And today the sun rose in this direction, where I am. I'm in Barcelona at the moment. And set in this other direction. Here you have the sun path. So you know at all time where the sun will be setting. And again, you can use this tool outside in the field, even if you are offline. Super easy to find where the sun will be rising or setting. And you have the same thing for the moon. If you tap on moon AR, you have exactly the same kind of tools with the horizon here. Now the moon is about to rise here in Barcelona. We are at 7:09 p.m. and this is the moon path. And the moon will set right in this direction. Easy. Regarding the night sky, the Milky Way, and the star trails, you can go to the night AR pill, which is maybe one of the most used pills when somebody downloads PhotoPills. And again, here you have the horizon, and if I swipe the time until the screen is crystal clear, this means that it's nighttime. So now I can look for the Milky Way. Actually, the core is here. This is the galactic center, the orange dot. and the core is below the horizon. We are in January, so we are in a winter Milky Way here in the northern hemisphere. We can photograph the thin part of the Milky Way. You can swipe the time by swiping. You can change the time by swiping your screen from right to left. And you can see when the Milky Way or the core will go above the horizon. Well, when the core goes above the horizon here, we enter the astronomical twilight. So we start getting this residual light from the sun. It's not nighttime. But for the night, for example, this position of Milky Way is pretty cool. I have the core here, appears above the horizon in this direction, and then the Milky Way is super, super low, super, super close to the horizon. And that's the second crossing point with the horizon. So once you know where the Milky Way is going to be, you can choose your shooting spot accordingly based on your subject position. Also, I love this screen, this augmented reality view, to plan star trails, because this is the Polaris and this is the South Celestial Pole for those of you that are in the Southern Hemisphere. And the blue circumferences you see represent the star trails pattern you'll get depending on the shooting direction. If you're shooting towards the Polaris, you know that you're getting this circumpolar star trails pattern. The stars appear to rotate around the Polaris. If I'm framing east or west, I'm getting this beautiful star trails pattern where the stars appear to move in a straight line on the celestial equator, this blue line here, and they diverge away from the equator on both sides. And if I'm framing south, I'm getting the star trails pattern, the stars describing arches above the horizon, another beautiful pattern. So depending on the pattern you want and depending on the position of your subject, then you need to walk around and place your subject, for example, under the Polaris. You want to get this circumpolar image here. Again, take advantage of the augmented reality views because they really allow you to visualize super, super quickly, super, super fast the key information. You can really figure out super fast where the Milky Way is going to be, where the sun is going to be, where the moon is going to be, so you can adjust your shooting spot when you're in the field and even when you are offline, right? The typical case, for example, for planning Milky Way would be when you are out there shooting a sunset and you want to stay later at night to photograph the Milky Way. You can plan your Milky Way shot when it's daytime based on the position of the Milky Way and the position of your subject. You can figure out your best composition, your shooting spot. Nice. You have questions? Again, type your questions in the chat. I read that. Maybe I'm going so very, very, very fast. I'll try to slow down a bit and open my mouth a little bit so you can understand me better. But at this point, what we'll learn is how to plan your photos when you're in the field. And for that, super easy. Use the augmented reality views included in the sun pill, moon pill, and the night AR pill. Okay? Great. Let's go to the planner, because the planner is the tool that we're going to spend most of the time today. The whole class is going to be on the planner because it is the most important tool, because it allows you to plan your photos from home for any location on Earth. So if I tap on planner, to get to the planner, what you see here is the red pin. The red pin represents our shooting spot, and all the information on the planner is relative to the red pin and the date and time you've set with the time bar. The time bar is the colorful bar you see below the planner. Great. To plan a shot, you actually only need to do 3 things. The first thing is you need to know how to move this red pin. How to move the red pin, because you'll need to place the red pin in the location you want to plan your shot, next to your subject, for example. The second thing is to change the date, because if you know the date you want to shoot, then you need to set the date using the time bar in order to then have all the sun, moon, and Milky Way information displayed on the map and also on the top panels, right? And this is the third part. Based on the red pin position and based on the date you've set, you need to understand where the sun, the moon, or the Milky Way will be at all time based on the information displayed on the map and on the top panel. And with this information, you can start planning your shot. You can start fine-tuning your shooting spot and also the shooting date and time to get the best composition possible, the best photo possible, or to get the photo you really want to take. Do you have questions? No? Sandra, feel free to post any questions and interrupt me at any time. Okay, let's imagine that you're in a trip to Menorca and you want to start planning photos like crazy in Menorca, this beautiful island here lost in the Mediterranean Sea, our home island, and we use it all the time in our examples. So imagine that you want to plan a photo trip to Menorca, or you're in Menorca and you want to start planning photos. First step would be, figure out the best shooting spots, the best locations, the best subjects on the island. And for that, you can go to my stuff and check the points of interest pill. I know a lot of locations in Menorca, and for me, planning shots in Menorca is pretty easy. And the reason is because I know the basics of photography planning, of course, but it's because I know so many locations, so I can find so many cool photos for a given date. Okay, let's start planning. Let's imagine that the first shot we want to plan is a nice sunrise next Saturday. So the first question is, okay, where the sun will be rising next Saturday and at what time? We have two questions here. Great. We have the pin in Menorca, so this is the first step. How can you move the red pin? Easy. You can drag and drop the red pin and move it. You can just forget about the pin and tap or hold on the map, and the red pin will be placed where you're tapping and holding. Important. You can tap on load at the bottom. You have many options. The load button here at the bottom displays many options. You can type a name of a place in the search bar, so you can place the red pin to the place you're typing here in the search bar. You can load a plan, you can load a point of interest, so you can start planning a shot. You can introduce a latitude or longitude, and the red pin will be placed in the latitude or longitude. Okay, or you can load a geotag photo, and the red pin will be placed on the coordinates, the GPS coordinates that the photo, where the photo was taken. Okay, this is a super important way to move the red pin. Then there is two other ways to move the red pin that are key. If you tap on the plus map button, the plus map button you have at the bottom right-hand corner, here you'll find many options. The first option on the left, where you see the pin and the arrowhead, if I tap it, the pin will be placed right where I am now. I'm in Barcelona, right? If you want to recover the previous position, tap again on the plus button and tap the undo button, which is the third button from the left, and the red pin will be back to the previous position. There is another way to move the red pin. Tap on the plus again and tap on the second button. And here you can just place the cross you see on the map in a place, and when you tap the cross, the red pin will be placed right where the cross was. Great. There is another cool option hidden in the plus button, which is to show your position on the map. It's the fourth button from the right, the arrowhead. If I tap it, you'll see what happens. A blue circumference, a blue circle appears on the map where I am. And this is important because when you are out there and you walk around and you want to get to the red pin position, this blue circle will help you understand when you are more or less at the right shooting spot, at the red pin position, because this blue circle is actually following you, right? Awesome. I'll switch it off because I don't need it. And if you want to delete the button, you just tap and hold on the button and drag it to the plus and you delete it. Great, great, great. Okay, I have the pin in Menorca, so based on all the information I've shared with you, now you know how to move the red pin, which is the first step. Second step is how to change the date. We said that we want to photograph a sunrise in Menorca next Saturday. So to set the date to next Saturday, what you do is to double tap on the time bar to set the date to today and now you can swipe the time bar to the left until you get to Saturday, like this. Great. There is another way to set the date. If you tap once on the time bar, tap once, you can access the calendar, you can set the date and the time in the calendar. Great. If you do a long press, that's another trick. If you do a long press on the time bar, you can change the time more precisely to adjust the position of the sun and the moon on the map. If you do a long press again on the time bar, you go back to a normal 24 hours length of the time bar. So step 2 is complete. We've set the date to the shooting date, in this case, next Saturday. Now I need to know where the sun will be rising and at what time. And well, I have all this information on the map. The yellow, the yellow thick line you see on the map represents the sunrise direction, and the orange thick line you see on the map is the sunset direction. The light blue one, the thick light blue one, is the moonrise direction, and the thick dark blue line is the moonset direction. If I swipe the time bar, you see that two other lines appear. The yellow thin line represents the position of the sun at all time. The sun rises in the direction of the yellow thick line and sets in the direction of the orange thick line. This is the position of the sun. Then we have a blue thin line, which is the position of the moon. The moon rises in the thick light blue line and sets in the thick dark blue line. So at all time, you know where the sun and the moon will be. Cool. Okay, based on the lines on the map, I know that the sun will be rising in the thick yellow line. At what time? You have the time on panel number 4 above the map. The sun will rise at 8:01 a.m. in the azimuth, which is the direction, the angle measured from north to the sunrise direction, 115.3 degrees, which is the direction represented by this thick yellow line. And it will set at 5:51 p.m. in the direction of the thick orange line. So you know where the sun will be rising and setting. And based on the rise and set lines, you can choose your shooting spot or where to go to take the photo. And the colors of the arrows on the top matches the colors of the thick lines on the map. So you also know that the moon is setting at 10:43 a.m. and is rising at 10:28 p.m. on Saturday, January 22nd, next Saturday. Today it's Wednesday 19th. Fantastico. Okay. I have the repeat in Menorca. I know when the sun is rising in the yellow thick line. And all I have to do is to move the red pin to many different cool locations I know, try to find the best shooting spot, the best photo possible. For example, I could go to Favarich Lighthouse. You know this lighthouse. We've been planning so many shots in this lighthouse. It's great. If I go to Favarich Lighthouse, well, I can start planning a shot here, a sunrise shot. If you want the sun to be in the frame with the lighthouse, well, my shooting spot should be more or less over there, right? That's pretty easy. If you want to have the natural light to hit the lighthouse from the side, my shooting spot could be this spot here, where this little road is guiding to the lighthouse, and the rising sun, will be hitting my subject from the site. Planning sunrise and sunset shots when you're shooting with a wide angle is pretty easy. The same for the moonrise and moonset shots, because based on the rise and set lines, it's super easy to really find your shooting spot. Great. At what time should you arrive for this sunrise shot? Okay, you know that the sunrise is at 7:59 a.m. But if you swipe the panel to the left until panel number 6, this panel is telling you the golden hour and blue hour times. And I always recommend you to get to the location. Of course, if you can scout the location the day before so you can find a cool composition, a nice foreground to match with your subject and with the sun, for example, at the back, it's better. But when you but in the shooting date, arrive before the blue hour begins. And on Saturday, blue hour begins at 7:30 a.m. You have on the panel both the blue hour and golden hour for in the morning and in the evening, so you know where to get there, the location, to make the most of the natural light, the blue hour and the golden hour, and also the rising and setting sun. So this could be a cool shooting spot for next Saturday. Okay, this is great, Rafa. This is great when planning a shot when you know the date, because it's super easy to plan it, because you know the sunrise and sunset directions based on the map lines. But what happens when, okay, imagine that I want to take this photo from this nice beach here, Cala Brasile, which is a super nice beach. We go every day, every year in the PhotoPills camp, and we photograph actually the sunrise we're about to plan now. So imagine that you know your shooting spot, and you know your subject. You want to photograph the Favarich lighthouse because you love the view of the lighthouse from this shooting spot, and you want to have the sun in the frame. You want to have the sunrise happening in the frame next to the lighthouse. So you don't know the date. You know the shooting spot, you know the photo you want, but you don't know the date and the time the photo is possible. How can you really easily figure out? Well, we'll use the find tool, the find button that you find on the bottom left-hand corner. If you tap on find and then tap on sun at azimuth and elevation, on Android tap on sun, here you can tell PhotoPills where you want the sun to be. So PhotoPills can work out the dates the sun will be at the desired position. You need to tell PhotoPills 3 things. First one is the day range. This is the day range you want PhotoPills to look for results. For example, let's set the starting date today and the end date, let's set in 1 year. So PhotoPills will look for the possible shooting dates in 1 year starting from now. And then I need to tell PhotoPills where I want the sun to rise. And for that, I can move this yellow pin here and place it right where I want the sun to rise. Let's say I want the sun to rise right next to the Favarich lighthouse. Great. The dark area you see on the map is the area where the sun is never going to be there. So if your yellow pin is in this area, the photo is not possible for the given date range. So place it right where outside this dark area. Great. This area, you see this yellow band you see, is the tolerance. Look at the azimuth. The azimuth is 65.85 plus minus 1. This is the tolerance. PhotoPills will be looking for the days the sun will be within this yellow area you see on the map. You want to change the tolerance, the error, you can tap on numeric at the bottom, the right-hand corner. And here you can change it to 2, 3, 4 degrees. I'll leave it to 1 degree because I want to be really precise for this shot. Okay, I have that direction. I have the azimuth set. Let's set the elevation. Tap on elevation. And I want a sunrise, so I'll set elevation to 0 degrees. For the elevation, we always use a tolerance of 0.5. You can tap on numeric and you can change the tolerance here, but I would say just leave it at 0.5. Okay, I have everything now. If I tap on the magnifying glass icon on the top right-hand corner, I'm gonna get the dates of I'm gonna get all the possible dates and times the sun will be within the search parameters. And I see that, for example, let's look for a Saturday. Saturday, May 14th, 2022 at 6:33 a.m. Let's tap on the result. And okay, we see the plan here. As you see, the sun is rising next to the lighthouse, as we want it. So we have our plan, if on May 14th, 2022 at 6:33 a.m. I am at the red pin position, I'll be able to photograph the beautiful sunrise, a sunrise occurring next to the Favarich lighthouse. The find option, the find tool here is so powerful because it gives you so much power to imagine photos. You probably know lots of locations. Take advantage of that. Just pick your best locations and start brainstorming cool photos. And use the find tool to find when the sun or the moon will be where you want it to be. In the frame or outside the frame. It all depends on the photo you really want to take. Great. This is for the sun. Easy, super easy. But what about the moon? Let's imagine that. Let's make it more complicated. Let's imagine that you want to photograph from the same shooting spot a big moon with the Favarich lighthouse. And you want the moon to be aligned with the top of the lighthouse. But you don't know when that photo is possible. How can you really figure it out? Easy. In this case, I'm going to start using the black pin to really plan it fast. So what I'll do is I'll zoom on my Favarich lighthouse and I'll go to panel number 2. Here we have it. Tap on the button on the panel and place the black pin right where you want the moon to be. Don't place it here because this is not the tip of the lighthouse. The lighthouse is a vertical structure, and if you want the moon to be aligned with the lighthouse, you need to place it right at the center where the lighthouse meets the ground level, right? Great, great, great. Okay, I have the black pin right where I want the moon to be. And if you check the top panel, it's telling me that the shooting distance is 1.1 kilometers, which is pretty great. Okay, next step, tap on the find button again. Tap on find, and in this case, we'll go for a moon at azimuth and elevation, or moon on Android. And for the date range for the moon, I would say 2 years, because the moon is much more trickier than the sun. It's harder to predict. The azimuth, well, the azimuth is already set because the blue pin is linked to the black pin, and so the moon direction is already set. I'm going to leave the azimuth error or tolerance to 1 degree. And for the elevation, if you tap on elevation, I'm going to use the numeric option here at the bottom. Tap on numeric. And why the numeric? Because here I can set the apparent height above the blue pin. This is the apparent height of the descent of the moon above the ground level of the blue pin. So if you do a quick research on the height of the Favarich lighthouse on internet, you'll find out that the height is 28 meters. So if I set 28 meters here, I'm telling PhotoPills that I want the center of the moon to be at 28 meters above the ground level of the lighthouse. So I want the center of the moon to be at the same height of my lighthouse. And don't worry about the terrain differences from the shooting spot and the black pin spot where my subject is. because PhotoPills takes into account the terrain in all the calculations. So all you need to do here is to introduce the height you want the center of the moon to be relative to the ground level of where you have the black pin, or the blue pin in this case. Okay, now tap on the magnifying glass icon to get all the possible dates and times. The moon will be within the search parameters. And if you tap on the face on the top of the table, tap on face twice on the word face, and you can sort out the table and get the full moon first. And as you see, we have many possible shooting dates. I'm going to be focusing on the full moon. The orange color that you see the moon phase there for each result, and also a background color. The background color represents the natural light you'll get, because when you're photographing the moon, natural light is key, it's super important. It's not the same to photograph the moon when it's daytime, because the moon is bluish and weaker, and during the golden hour or the blue hour when the moon is so powerful. And then at night, you photograph the moon at night in in the field, in the countryside, you don't have any natural light, or you don't have any artificial light to lead your foreground. Either you need to add natural artificial light to lead your foreground, or you need to shoot a double exposure to get detail both on the moon and on your subject. If you photograph a cityscape like New York, for example, well, you can get in one single exposure detail in the moon and also in the foreground, thanks to the city lights or the lights of the building. Well, orange represents golden hour, light blue daytime. Then we have the blue, which is the twilights, and black is nighttime. Okay, let's check the first result, which occurs on Sunday, February 5th, 2023 at 5:58 p.m. Tap on the plan to see it on the map. And as you see here, well, the moon is pretty aligned with my black pin, with my subject. But check the moon height on the top panel. The top panel is telling me that the moon height is 22.4 meters, which is not 28 meters. I want the moon to be at 28 meters. So what I have to do is to change the time a little bit to push the moon up. How to change the time? Do a long press on the time bar to change the time more precisely. And now change the time until the moon height on the top panel is 28 meters, like this. Great. Now I have the height of the moon I want at the same height of my subject, 28 meters. Now I need to align the moon with my subject, and to do that, all I have to do is to, move the red pin a little bit, and more or less I'm getting there. Hope I'll do a little bit more like this. Here we have it. Yes. Okay, here we have it. We have the moon aligned with the black pin and with my subject. So I have my plan. If on February 5th, 2023 at 5:59 p.m., if I'm on the red pin position, I'll be able to photograph a moon aligned with the top of the lighthouse. And what's the size of the moon I'll be able to photograph? Well, you have the size on the top panel in brackets. It's 9.7 meters. It's a pretty big diameter, taking into account that the lighthouse has a height of 28 meters. And the cool thing is that the thin azimuth line of the moon is telling me the size of the moon too. These 9.7 meters are represented on the map by this light blue area. You want to switch on this light blue area, you need to tap on the map settings button, which is next to the plus map button, and go and tap on the moon layer where it says map layers, tap on moon, and make sure that you have the show moon size switched on. This way, you'll have the moon size displayed on the map, so you can compare how big the moon will be with your subject. which is so cool. Okay, I think I have my planner ready for action. One final step is to check the natural light, and for that you need to go to panel number 3. When you're planning the moon, always check the natural light you'll get at the time of the shooting, at the time of the photo, because it tells you how powerful will be the moon. You know that the moon in golden hour and blue hour has a super nice and beautiful yellow color. It's awesome. In this case, I have the sun elevation 0.75. Why the sun elevation? Well, because depending on the sun elevation, the natural light is linked to the sun elevation. You know that for the elevation of the sun above 6 degrees, you have daytime. When the sun elevation is between 6 and -4 degrees, you have golden hour. And when the sun elevation is from -4 to -6, you have the blue hour. From -6 to -12 is nautical twilight. From -12 to -18 is astronomical twilight. And when the sun is below -18 is nighttime. It's night. Well, in this case, the elevation of the sun is 0.78 degrees at the time of the shooting, which is golden hour. The sun is about to set. So natural light is going to be great. It's going to be a golden hour, and the moon will be pretty powerful, yellow in the sky with my lighthouse. Awesome. Now you can save, when you plan a shot, you better save it to your to-do list so you don't forget that you have it. You can tap on the save button. You have it next to the load at the bottom, tap on save, and here you can save a plan. You can also save a point of interest. You can place the red pin on a nice subject and you can save it as a point of interest to your database of points of interest. In this case, I recommend you to save the plan to your to-do list. Another cool thing you can do, you tap on more here at the bottom, more, action. Here you can send the plan via email to a friend, and if your friend is a PhotoPiller, he or she will be able to import it into PhotoPills and play with it. And also, super important, always add an alert to the calendar. Add an alert to your calendar so your phone tells you that you have this photo opportunity coming and you don't miss it. Super important. So guys, we've learned how to plan sunrise or sunset when you know the date. It is the same thing for the moon when you know the date. The moonrise and moonsets. We plan how to find when the sun is going to be in a specific direction with the fine tool. We've learned how to plan the moon when you know the photo you want. You know the moon position you want compared with the subject. You know your shooting spot. We don't know when it happens. We use the fine tool to figure it out. Next example we can see now is how to plan the next full moon, for example. Great. How to plan the next full moon is a typical example when you know the shooting date. You want to photograph the full moon. So you want to photograph during the next full moon. So the first thing, as always, I'm going to hide the black pin. To hide the black pin, I'll go to the panel number 2, tap on the button on the panel to hide it. Okay. And then I'll go to panel number 4, this one. And let's say that you want to plan the next full moon here in Menorca. First step, as always, place the red pin in the area you want to plan the shot. Second step, set the date. Set the next full moon date. And to do it, this is how to do it fast. Double tap on the time bar to set the date to today. And now the icon, the moon picture you see on the top panel is also a button. If you tap it, the date will jump to the next important moon phase. If you tap it again, it's going to be new moon. Tap it again, first quarter. Tap it again, full moon. And the full moon occurs on February 16th, 2022, the next full moon. You have the time on the time bar at the bottom. Okay, now that I've set the shooting date, the full moon date, well, I can start planning my shot based on the sunrise, not the sunrise in this case, the moonrise and moonset directions. And you have the directions on the map. Again, the light blue line is the moonrise direction, and the dark, thick blue line is the moonset direction. Okay, based on my moonrise and moonset directions, I see that I could go to, for example, Punta Nati Lighthouse and try to plan a nice moonrise shot with our favorite stone hut. Here we have it. This is a super nice stone hut and beautiful. That's on top of the hill, and we love photographing it with the moon and with the sun. Okay, locate your subject on the map. And now go to panel number 2, tap on the button on the panel to make the black pin appear, and place the black pin right where you want the moon to be. In this case, I want to have it centered with this stone hut, which is pretty cool. Great. Okay, this way I have my subject perfectly visible on the map, and I can start moving my red pin in order to align the moonrise direction with my subject. So when the moon rises, it rises behind my subject. So I can start planning my shot. Great, I'll do a zoom on my subject. And now, to plan the shot, easy, we'll use the panel above the map. The moon height is 14.9 meters, and this is on February 16th, 2022 at 6:23 p.m. The stone hut is more or less 7-8 meters tall. Imagine that you want to have the moon kissing the ground level of the stone hut. So you have the stone hut and you have the moon right behind it. What's the height of the moon I need? What's the height of the center of the moon I need? Well, in brackets, you have the moon size is 10.7 meters. This means that the radius is more or less 5 meters. It's more or less 5 meters. So if I get the center of the moon to be 5 meters above the ground level, well, I'm going to have the moon kissing the ground level, right? So long press on the time bar, swipe the time backwards until the moon height, it says 5 meters. Something like this. Okay, more or less, here we have it, 5.2 meters. And the plan is almost there. You see that the moon is pretty aligned, and that the size of the moon, which is 10.7 meters, it matches the size of the hut. It's so cool. Well, I'll align a bit. I'll change my tuning spot a bit to align the moon a little bit better with my hut. Here we have it. I can put it a bit down, changing the time. Okay, here, more or less, yeah. Okay, I think I have my plan. But first, let me give you a really quick trick on how to adjust your shooting, your red pin position in a smartest way. If you tap on the plus button and you tap on the expand azimuth lines button, which is this one, and then you tap on the plus button and you tap on the swap pins button, and you place the black pin on this dashed moon line and swap the pins back again. Now the moon should be perfectly aligned with the black pin. This is a pretty cool trick to really align your shots super fast. I'll switch off the span lines and I'll delete the button here. Okie dokie, here we have it. That's another cool shot. That's another cool shot for the next full moon. You know that on February 16th, 2022, at 6:20 p.m., if you are at the resting position, you'll be able to photograph the moon aligned and behind this stone hut, kissing the ground level, and with a size of 10.7 meters, which is pretty cool. That's a great shot. So this is how you can plan your shots of the next full moon. You know, based on the moon rise and moonset directions, you can really figure out very quick the best shooting spot and the best shooting date and time. And the top panel, the panel number 2, is key. Use it. It's telling you the moon height, the height of the center of the moon relative to the black pin level, which is awesome. And also in brackets, you have the size of the moon, which is super cool. You know, you plan your shot so fast. Well, last step here is to check natural light. Again, elevation of the sun minus 0.08 degrees. The sun is about to set. It's setting already, so it's golden hour. So the moon is gonna be beautiful and yellow behind my stone hut. And in one single exposure, I'll be able to photograph with detail and get correctly exposed both my hut, my subject, and the moon. But I could keep planning here. I could plan, the focal length, the frame, and also the aperture to get, everything in focus or at least acceptably sharp. Because in most cases, you want the moon to be also acceptably sharp. You want to capture detail in the moon too. How you can plan your depth of field and your field of view really quickly on the map? Easy. Just go to the map settings button, the button next to the plus map button. Here you have it. And now on the map tools, switch on DOF, depth of field. This tool will allow you to plan both the field of view, the focal length you need, the framing, and also the depth of field. What will be acceptably sharp and what will be out of focus. Okay, let's introduce our settings. As the camera, I'm gonna use the Nikon Z6 that Antonio uses. I'm gonna use as focal length, let's use 500 mil, for example. As aperture, let's set f8. We're shooting golden hour. Focus distance, so where I am focusing, I'm focusing at the black pin distance because I want to focus on the hut, on my subject. I'm gonna be shooting in portrait, and the shooting direction, I'm gonna set it to be aligned with the black pin. So my field of view gets aligned with my subject. Here you see the frame, what will be inside the frame and outside the frame, which is great. For example, you're shooting in landscape mode, well, you can capture a bit more of the landscape, but I think I prefer the portrait mode. And the cool thing is that because you also see the size of the moon, you can compare how big the moon will be with your subject and also with your framing, with your field of view, with your photo, how big the moon will be in your photo, which is amazing. So cool. Okay, I have my field of view already planned. I'm going to be using a 500 mil in a full frame camera. What's going on with the depth of field? The question here is, will the moon to be sharp, acceptably sharp? Because I'm focusing on my subject, and I know that my subject is going to be that sharp, because I'm focusing on it. But what about the moon? The moon is in infinity, super far away. Will it be in focus? What do you think? Comment in the chats. What do you think? It's going to be in focus or out of focus? And you know the answer? Let me know in the chat too. Okay. How can we know if the moon is going to be acceptably sharp? Well, we use the hyperfocal distance. And the hyperfocal distance is the distance you see next to this three icon here, 1.04 kilometers. This is the hyperfocal distance. And it is just a distance that depends on your camera, sensor size, the focal length, and the aperture. And why is this distance important? Well, it is important because if you're focusing on something that's behind the hyperfocal distance, infinity will be acceptably sharp too. Which means that the moon will be acceptably sharp too. Well, in this case, the hyperfocal distance is 1.04 kilometers, and I'm focusing at my subject, which is at 1.21 kilometers. So the good news is that with an aperture of f8, I can get detail on both. My subject will be that sharp because I'm focusing on my subject, but also the moon will be acceptably sharp to capturing detail in the moon too, in terms of the depth of field, which is awesome. It's really, really great. This tool is so powerful. I really love it. Being able to plan your framing and your depth of field right on the map is just a game changer. Okay, let's go to the Milky Way now. Let's switch off these map tools. Tap on the map settings button. Tap on none here in the map tools. And now to plan the Milky Way, let's switch on the Milky Way. To switch on and off a layer, tap on the eye icon next to the layer. And for the Milky Way, I'll switch off the sun layer because I don't really need it. I'm going to leave the moon layer because I really need to know where the moon is going to be at all time when I'm planning the Milky Way. Great. That I'm done. And now I have the Milky Way information on the map. Let me switch off the lapping because, again, first thing I'm going to do is to decide my shooting, my subject. In this case, I want to go to the Cavalleria Lighthouse here. I want to plan shots of the Milky Way with this beautiful, beautiful lighthouse here. So as always, first step, set the red pin next to your subject. Now, swipe the panel to the left until you get to the first Milky Way panel. This Milky Way panel is great because it's telling you when the times when the galactic center will be visible for the selected date and time. Okay, let's plan the Milky Way around the new moon, the next new moon. Why? Well, because our workflow, as you probably know, when planning the Milky Way, is to place a red pin next to your subject and then jump time from new moon to new moon to cover all the new moons of the year and to check for each new moon all the possible compositions you can get with the Milky Way. So for a given month, all the possible photos you can capture of the Milky Way. The Milky Way is much easier to predict. Okay, how to set the next new moon? Well, you can go to panel number 2, Milky Way panel number 2, double tap on the time bar to set the date to today, and now tap on the Milky Way icon you see on the panel to set the date to the next new moon, which is on February 1st, 2022. Great. On January 1st, 2022, when the core of the Milky Way will be visible? Well, it will be visible from 5:27 a.m. until 6:18 a.m., just before the sunrise. And where the core will be visible, where the galactic center will be visible? Well, it will be visible between these two gray lines you see on the map. The galactic center, it is represented by the thick white dot on the Milky Way arch. The Milky Way arch is represented by this dotted white arch. And the galactic center, the brightest part of the Milky Way, the core of the Milky Way, is represented by the largest dot on the arch. And it's key to know where it is at all time. And thanks to these two gray lines, you know at all time where the galactic center will be visible. The galactic center is linked with the red pin by this thick white line. And the thin line you see is telling you the directions where the Milky Way arch crosses the horizon, meets the horizon. Because for the Milky Way, there are 4 important points. The 2 crossing points with the horizon, the galactic center, and then the top of the Milky Way, which is the center of the arch, right in the middle of the dotted arch you see on the map. Great. Okay. Based on the map information, how do I know if the Milky Way is vertical or very low in the sky? Well, all you need to know is that when the arch is near the largest concentric circumference you see, when it's further away from the red beam, it's because the Milky Way is pretty low in the sky. And if you go to the second Milky Way panel, you see that the Milky Way is pretty low in the sky. In February, the Milky Way here in Menorca, in the northern hemisphere, is super low in the sky, because when it's vertical, it's daytime. You cannot photograph vertical compositions of the Milky Way in February here. Okay, what photos can I shoot here in Caballeria Lighthouse in February then? Well, this could be a cool shot here. The Milky Way arch above the lighthouse, and the Milky Way is going to be super low in the sky. Actually, if you go to the red beam position and you tap on the night AR button here at the bottom, night AR button, this is the position of the Milky Way you would see. You see how low in the sky the Milky Way is super low and super horizontal. You have the galactic center and the Milky Way arch. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, and the moon is below the horizon. Well, it's new moon, so we don't have moon here. Fantastic. The augmented reality views, actually, you can swipe your finger and change the time and see how the Milky Way moves across the sky. It's great. Yeah, the augmented reality views will really help you understand the position of the Milky Way in the sky, if you don't really understand it when you're looking at the map. With a bit of practice, when you look the Milky Way position on the map, you'll know where the Milky Way is going to be at all time. If it's low or vertical or for a nice diagonal. Okay, and the cool thing about the Milky Way is that every day and night in February, I can shoot the same shot. I could change, the date, and every day and night in February, you can photograph the same Milky Way panorama, for example, above the Caballeria Lighthouse. So depending on the weather conditions, you can choose the date that works best for you, the date that gives you clear skies. The only thing you need to pay attention is to the moon phase, and where the moon is. If it's below the horizon or above the horizon. Sometimes you want to have the moon above the horizon, right? To lead the photograph, to add natural light in the foreground. So with one single exposure, you can get both, the Milky Way correctly exposed and also the landscape. So having the moon above the horizon when it's low in the sky, it's also great. Above all, when you're photographing landscapes with no artificial natural light. Great. So to plan the Milky Way, the workflow is to go from new moon to new moon and check all the possible compositions for each new moon. Why? Because for that given month, you can photograph the same shot every day, or all the shots every day. The Milky Way is super easy to predict. It's not that tricky as the sun or the moon. So February is a great month for panoramas of the Milky Way here. But that's it. Let's check March. Tap on the Milky Way icon on the top panel to jump to the next new moon, which is in March, 3rd of March here. Okay, in March, again, you can photograph the Milky Way pretty low in the sky, but you can start getting a nice diagonal too. Yeah, you can change measuring spot, for example, to get a nice diagonal of the Milky Way with the lighthouse. This could be another cool shot. And this shot is occurring on March the 3rd, 2022 at 5:21 a.m. And the moon is below the horizon because it's new moon. Great. Let's see April. Tap on the icon on the map. Well, in April, the Milky Way gets more and more vertical. And you can get even more vertical panorama of the Milky Way above Cavalleria Lighthouse, like this, for example, or lower. Or you want a diagonal, a more vertical diagonal, you could go and shoot it from here too. Well, but if you want to photograph the Milky Way completely vertical, you cannot get it because when it's vertical, it's daytime. Okay, let's figure out when the Milky Way is going to be vertical here. So you can come and photograph a vertical composition of the Milky Way with the Cavalleria Lighthouse. Well, what I'll do is I'll tap the Milky Way icon on the panel until we go to July, because now I know that in July it is possible. In the northern hemisphere, from July, end June, July, September, October, November is when you can photograph the Milky Way vertical with the galactic center above the horizon. Why do I know? How do I know that the Milky Way is vertical? Because the Milky Way arch goes above the red pin, like this. So if I want to photograph the lighthouse with a completely vertical Milky Way and with the core behind the lighthouse, I need to go and shoot from this shooting spot here. For example, this way the Milky Way will be completely vertical with the lighthouse. And if I check the night AR view, you'll see what I mean here. Look for the Milky Way. You see, the Milky Way is so vertical. You have the galactic center above the horizon. The lighthouse will be here, right here, and the Milky Way will be super vertical above the lighthouse. So nice, so cool. Cool. And you could keep planning and planning different compositions. So to sum up, guys, if you want to plan the Milky Way, first step, place the red pin next to your subject. Second step, double tap on the time bar to set the day to today. And then tap on the icon on the panel to set the day to the next new moon. And check all the possible compositions you can get of the Milky Way. Remember that the Milky Way is visible every day at night. You can photograph the Milky Way every day at night, but not the core. The core has its season, right? In the northern hemisphere, you can photograph the core of the galactic center above the horizon from February to November, right? In the northern and in the southern hemisphere. But from November to February, well, you cannot get it. The galactic center will be below the horizon. So once you have your plans for that new moon, well, you can jump to the next month, new moon, and find different compositions, verticals, diagonals, nice panoramas of the Milky Way. And you go and you keep, saving all your plans. You save all your plans. Guys, you have questions? Sandra, any question that you want me to answer? No? I don't see any question here in the chat. Let me check the chat. No. Any specific thing you want me to cover? I see Sandra is writing now. No questions? Wow, guys, you're masters. Take advantage of it because I'm here today with you guys. If you have questions, now's the time. I've been talking for 1 hour nonstop. If you want me to plan a specific shot or you have a question, please let me know because I'm sure many people will have the same question. Okay, I'm reading in the chat that Peter Trabant is asking for calibration of the sun and moon. Well, this is great. Thank you for the question. You want to calibrate the sun, moon, or even the night AR view? You can do it directly from the visual calibration button you see here. You have here at the bottom visual calibration. For example, imagine that you're out there with your photographing the sunset and you wish to plan the Milky Way for the night. You can calibrate the augmented reality view so you make sure that the Milky Way is going to be right where PhotoPills is telling you. And to do that, just tap on the visual calibration here. And then, because the sun will be above the horizon, all you need to do is to place the sun, the real sun, well, to place the picture of the sun right on the real sun to calibrate the augmented reality view. So this way you know that the Milky Way is going to be right there. And it works the same with the sun pill. You want to calibrate, you can use the visual calibration button at the bottom and use the real sun to calibrate the sun. You can use the sun or the moon. The trick here is that you need to have the sun or the moon below the horizon, above the horizon, in order to be able to calibrate the augmented reality views. And this is how you can calibrate. You use the real sun and the real moon to calibrate your augmented reality views. More questions there? Yes? No? I think we have more time to explain you very fast. Oh, here the questions are popping up. Okay, Joshua Kramer. And this in the planner. Okay. When the large dots are shown on the Milky Way overlay, is this better for photos? When they are set, when they are all the same size, is this less visible? Okay, what do you mean is that, for example, now, all the dots on the Milky Way arch are the same size. This means that the core of the Milky Way, the galactic center, is below the horizon. So what you're seeing is the thinner part of the Milky Way, the thinner part. You can still photograph the Milky Way, the thin part of the Milky Way. For example, if you want to photograph a panorama of the thin part of the Milky Way, you can go here and you can photograph it. It's just that the Milky Way is going to be thinner, but you will see the Milky Way arch in the sky. It's going to be also an amazing photo. When the galactic center becomes visible, you see that the size of the dots increase a bit, right? The largest dot is the galactic center, but the galactic center is just a spot. The core, the brightest area, is an area. That's why we have different sizes of the white dots that represents this core, this area that's going to be in the sky. It's going to be super powerful and beautiful, and you want to have in the photo, so you know at all time where this area is going to be at all time, which is key when you're planning your Milky Way photos, when you want the core to be in the frame. But yeah, when the arch, when all the dots on the arch have the same size, then what you're photographing is the thinner part of the Milky Way. For example, in this case, if I tap on the night AR, you'll see the difference. This is the thinner part, which is the part you'll be photographing, right? It's thinner. It's beautiful, but it's thinner. The brightest part and the core and the thickest one is where the core is, this area here. So this is the difference. More questions. Mike Deal, can you explain the blue bars next to the Milky Way? Yes, on the top panel you see these blue bars here. This is an energy bar that is linked to the moon phase. When the moon phase is new moon, the energy bar is completely full. If I swipe the dates, you see when the energy bar goes down, is because the phase of the moon is growing. So it's just a way to tell you guys, if the energy bar is not full, you need to pay attention to the moon. You need to know where the moon is at all time. For example, for this day here, let me plan a shot of the Milky Way with the moon above the horizon. See what I mean here? Come on. Here we're getting there. For example, in this day, it's not a bad day to photograph the Milky Way, right? I have the core here. I have my beautiful arch of the Milky Way going above my lighthouse, and I have the moon, the setting moon, providing light from the side, which is it could be a cool way to lead the foreground. So, well, having the moon is also a good idea sometimes. But check the top bar. The energy bar is completely almost black, right? This is because the moon phase is probably very, very large. Yeah, you see, you have almost a full moon. Actually, you have 88.2% moon. It's pretty big. So this is the meaning of the blue energy bars. When it's full, it's new moon. So don't pay attention to the moon. Okay, another question from Gerald Rich. How do you determine the azimuth in the field? Well, in the field, with the mental reviews, you only can determine the if it's west, southwest, and here you have the azimuth. You can place, for example, here the position of the moon you want, and then you can go back to the map and go to panel number 3. Panel number 3, this one, and here you get the azimuth on the top panel. So what you do in the field is to place the red pin right where you are using this button here. Place the red pin where you are, and then you have the map visible, because the map sometimes is not visible when you don't have internet, when you don't have connection and the app crashes. The map is not visible. Well, you can place the blue line based on the map view, or you can place the moon position based on the AR view. And then on panel number 2, you can get the moon azimuth, 219.3 degrees in this case. This is how you do it. In the future, it would be cool to add, for example, a cross or the azimuth here in the center of the augmented reality view, so you can really figure it out with the augmented reality view. But in this case, I would do it this way. More questions. Mark Tariff. Can you go over how to change the date again, please? Of course. Change the date. Easy. Time bar. Swipe right to left to change the date. Tap once on the time bar to change the date with the calendar. Here you can also do more date. Actually, it is the same. But if you tap once, you access the calendar. If you double tap on the time bar, you set the date to today, right? If you do a long press on the time bar, you can change the date more precisely. Super, super important. And then to set the next full moon, I'm using panel number 4 always. Just double tap on the time bar and then tap on the icon, the moon icon you see here, until it's a full moon and the full moon date is set. And to set the new moon, you can also use the double tap on the time bar to set the date today and now, and you can use the Milky Way icon on the top panel to set the date to the next new moon. And this is on February 1st, 2022. So this is how you can change the date. Okay, and hey, Robert, thanks for the question. Robert I don't know your surname. Verkunterer. Can you explain how the black pin planning takes into account the visibility? Well, regarding the black pin is super, super important because it's the way we measure the terrain. I'm going to switch off the Milky Way layer. Second. The blood pin is great because, for example, here we have a mountain. Let me give you, I'm gonna place the red pin here, and I'm gonna place the blood pin on the mountain. Hop, 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 go to panel number 2, tap on the blood pin button, and place the blood pin on the mountain. Well, the blood pin is key because it's the way we have to measure, to have into account the terrain in our calculations, right? You need to align the sun, the moon, or even the Milky Way with the blood pin, and on panel number 2, you can read how high the moon will be above the ground level. This is the terrain where the blood pin is placed. And imagine that, for example, you want to photograph a really nice subject with the moon, and you've never been there, and you want to figure out if there is a hill or mountain behind your subject that can really hide the moon. What I do is I plan my moon shot, and then I move the blood pin on the azimuth line on the moon, checking the top panel and making sure that the height of the center of the moon is always positive, it's above the ground level of the blood pin. To help you with that, you can change the map type. You can tap on the map settings button here and go to map type and use, for example, terrain here. And in terrain, you can easily view where the hills are. You can place the blood pin right where the main hills are. This is how we do it. We plan our moonshot or sunshot, and then we move the blood pin along the direction of the sun to see if something is hiding the sun. And when something hides the sun, you'll see what happens to, or the moon, you'll see what happens. The line of the moon goes dashed. This means that the center of the moon is below the terrain where the blood pin is. And if you check the moon height on the top panel, you'll see there it's minus 14.9 meters. So the center of the moon is 14.9 meters below the ground level where the blood pin is. This is how we do it. Thank you for the question. Very, very good one. Let's go back to the hybrid map view. Great. More questions here. Okay, Mark Silverberg. I followed how to check depth of field to make sure the subject is in focus, but missed how to see if the moon is in exactly focus. Well, for that, I'll go back and switch on the depth of field tool, and I'll align the field of view with the blood pin. You need to pay attention to this. You see this 3 icon here? This is the hyperfocal distance, right? Based on the camera sensor focal length and aperture, you get this hyperfocal distance. You have these 3 icons here, 1.04 kilometers. If you're focusing on your subject, on the subject here, for example, well, you're focusing at a larger distance than the hyperfocal. And the math is easy. If you're focusing at something that's larger, that's further away from it's behind the hyperfocal distance from your shooting spot. I'm focusing at 1 kilometer, 1.58 kilometers, and the hyperfocal distance is 1.04 kilometers. So because I'm focusing on my subject, which is behind the hyperfocal distance, well, the moon will be exactly sharp. And this is the math. This is the use, how useful it is, hyperfocal distance. It's just a distance that you need to calculate. And to calculate it, you can also use, you have many tools. You have the depth of field tool or the hyperfocal distance table. You can calculate it super easily. But on the planner, what is cool is that you can really view this distance on the map. So if you want to have the moon or the sun in focus, acceptably sharp, make sure that you're focusing at something that's behind the hyperfocal distance. And here you have the depth of field info. So if I'm focusing on my subject, I'm gonna get in focus from 628.4 meters, which is the depth of field near limit, till infinity. You have it here. The depth of field far limit is infinity. So this is how you do it. If you focus on something that's large, as further away from, at a further, you focus at something that's further away, at a larger distance than the hyperfocal, then you get the moon or the sun acceptably sharp too. Okay, next question. Brain Cox, how can you find when the galactic center will be in the center of the arch? Well, the galactic center, let me switch on the Milky Way and switch off the moon. Right, switch off the sun and switch off the map tools. Well, the galactic center is never at the center of the arch. The galactic center is here. Usually, it's visible in the southwest, southeast directions from January, from February to May, and as the year goes by, I swipe the time super fast. You see that the galactic center visibility area increases. We have more time to photograph it, but it's always visible in the south direction, southeast. And let me go to September. September super fast. Here, from September, the galactic center is visible in the southwest directions, and is when you can photograph the Milky Way vertical. So the galactic center is never in the middle of the arch, at least in the place I have the red pin. In some places in the southern hemisphere, you'll get, for example, if I go to New Zealand, which is an amazing place for the Milky Way. If I go to New Zealand, you'll see the difference. For example, here, you'll see where the galactic center is. Here, the galactic center is super high in the sky, right? And it's pretty close to the center of the arch. And this is because of the latitude of the position of the red pin. So it all depends on where you are on Earth. I mean, in the northern hemisphere, in Menorca, we always get the galactic center pretty low in the sky. But if you go to Paradise, like in New Zealand, is when you can get the galactic center to be super high in the sky. And if I go to the 90-hour view, you'll see how cool is the galactic center is super high in the sky. So the answer is, okay, you want to get the galactic center high in the sky, you need to go to New Zealand or somewhere in the south hemisphere where you can get it. Okay, guys, more questions? More. 1 hour and a half already. Guys, that the goal of this class was to give you a little push with the app and photography planning, because it's easier than it seems. Again, all you need is to decide. I mean, the more locations you know, the more subjects you know, the better. Because for a given date, you'll be able to come up with more cool photos, right? And when you know a lot of subjects, it's all about placing the red pin next to the subjects and start planning photos with the sun, moon, and Milky Way, following the steps, using the black pin to understand the topography and the size of the moon or the sun, and the position of the Milky Way. So again, let's go back to the pills menu. And well, about this YouTube channel, you know that you have many videos, and I recommend you to go and watch the videos that you really need. We have videos on how to plan the Milky Way, how to plan the sun in multiple scenarios, how to plan the moon in multiple scenarios too. And again, if you go to the Academy section, make sure that you go to the how to article section and you check the article you need. Here you'll find everything you need, as I said, everything you need, from inspiration, planning, year and camera settings. For example, if you want to learn how to photograph the moon, you have everything here. You can even download these guides. They are free to download. And you have an index with all the content. You'll learn in this guide. It's just amazing, and it's super well structured, so you know where to go when you have a question. You can use these guides as really books. So take advantage of them and download them. I invite you to download them. They are great apps. Let me check what Sandra is telling me. More questions? No more questions. Okay, guys. Oh, I see another question in the chat now from Dave. What happens when you're planning a photo and you're planning to photograph from a top building? Very good question. All you have to do is to place the red pin on your building, and then you can adjust the height or the altitude of the red pin. And to do it, you need to tap on the more button here at the bottom, more altitudes. And from this screen, you can custom the red pin. You can set a custom altitude, and you can set, for example, an offset. You can set here the height of the building from where you're shooting. And you set here, for example, let's say you're shooting from 20 meters. Well, it is added to the altitude, the terrain. So 4 meters of terrain and then 20 meters of building, you're shooting from a total altitude of 24 meters. And now all the calculations that PhotoPills, all the information that PhotoPills is showing you is based on this new altitude you've already set. When you move the red pin further away, the altitude is set to 0 again. You need to reset it, right? Because we interpret that you're moving the red pin, you want to plan another thing, and we set it to normal, let's say. So this is how you can really introduce this offset to tell PhotoPills that you're shooting from the top of a building. More questions, because we are about to say goodbye. Again, I invite you to go to my stuff and submit your photos, guys. I mean, I've just released this photo today, featured this photo by Jordi de Febrer. An amazing shot, single shot. And here you have the story behind the shot, and you have the camera settings also. I hope these photos inspire you guys to really come up with cool photo ideas. You can literally take a location that has been shot 1,000 times and brainstorm and come up with different cool photo ideas. And when you get that shot you love, just submit it, and then we receive it, and if it's a great shot, we'll feature it. By the way, every month we choose 3 photos, and we give them $100 each. So we have 3 winners every month, and at the end of the year we have the best photo of the year, and the winner gets $3,000. So it's a way we have a little effort we do to really compensate or reward creativity. Guys, you need to push your boundaries and brainstorm and come up with crazy photo ideas and plan them and go and capture them, which is the game, the name of the game. You know? Imagine, plan, shoot, we say. It's so fun. For example, I really love this photo here. Yeah, this photo, for example, from Yabril Moro is just amazing. You know, planning when the moon is going to be there and jumping into the moon. It's fantastic. Okay, more questions before we say goodbye? Yes? No? But remember that this video will be available on the YouTube channel at any time. And again, go and check our video tutorials and how-to articles, but only go and check them when you have a question, when you are stuck. It's a great way to unlock yourself and advance towards your goal. Think about the photo you want first. I can't say and say it enough. Think about the photo you want first, decide where you want to go shoot, and then use PhotoPills to figure out the best shooting spot and the best shooting date and time for the best photo possible. And that's it. Okay, I think it's time to say goodbye. Thank you so much for bearing with me today. It's been amazing. I hope you like this session. I know that I speak fast sometimes, and most of the time, and I don't open my mouth enough, but it's the way I am. What can I do? I need to slow down. I'll try to do it next time. Well, as always, guys, if you like this video, give us a like, subscribe, and we'll see you next Wednesday in another video. And remember, as always, remember that you have the power to imagine, plan, and shoot legendary photos. Guys, bye-bye, see you next time, and enjoy shooting legendary photos. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sandra, for being there. Thank you all. Bye-bye.